Hi guys, so my name is Edward. I'm a writer. I've been in the industry for about 20 plus years. The last 5 years, I've set up a consultancy called Borderless. So Borderless is something we engage with clients. It's actually a one-person show, but we bring people on board as and when. So we work directly with clients. We help clients set up their in-house studio. And I manage the in-house studios with clients. It's been working out quite well so far.
Yeah. And previously, like before that, you were leading the kind of like creative industry from both Malaysia and Singapore. What was the sequence like?
Yeah, well, I started in Malaysia, and then I think around 2004, I was promoted to head of creative department. So that was when I started leading a department, late 2004 onwards. And I thought I did a terrible job. I moved to Singapore, not because I was promoted, but because I didn't know how to lead a creative department.
Yeah.
So, in Singapore, they asked me to lead a creative department as well. So I threw a tantrum. And then they made me creative head of copy over the region, which was okay. So I wasn't leading any creative department, but I was looking after the copy uh, for Y&R, an advertising agency, over the region from China, India, in between,
Mm.
together
And,
with the creative team.
and during that kind of that part of your history when you were an employee and in the position where you were hiring people, right? Did you personally encounter any kind of shock like what we are going through in today's world?
Yeah, I realized that it's a different role, when you are a creative or a copywriter, art director, or designer, and when you become a head of department, it's a kind of a new job. So back as a creative, your job is to come up with ideas, so to speak. As a creative leader, you're supposed to manage clients, interpret clients' brief, and your ideas has got to be more strategic, not shooting everywhere. So that was a culture shock for me, because I didn't expect to be a creative leader. But I realized one day that the roles had changed, the rules of engagement had changed. I was not just supposed to come up with 50 ideas, but I was supposed to engage clients, let's say, that interpret the brief, understand what they are looking for, and propose a solution that they will buy. Not something boring, but something exciting that will motivate the creative teams as well.
Mm.
So as a creative, you are supposed to do one thing. As a creative leader, another thing. And now, in this context, so from a creative leader, I'm no longer just a creative leader, but I'm also a business owner. And it's a mindset change. So from an employee to a manager to a business owner, that's three different mindset,
Yep.
and you can't operate in the same way.
Can you give us a succinct definition of what the differences were when you transitioned from those three stages?
Yeah, I think as a creative, your mindset is to, or your job description is to come up with ideas, come up with lots of ideas, be mad, be crazy, be stupid. The secret to coming up with a lot of ideas is to come up with 50 ideas. Because nobody can come up with 50 dumb ideas. It's got to be one great idea. As a creative leader, I felt my role was to interpret the client's brief properly. See, not everybody can communicate well, and maybe client can't communicate that well. So we have to interpret what exactly is the client's business problem and translate it together with the suits to the creative team so that we can present a sensible creative solution. Because you don't want to go back to the client with 3, 4 options, and then go back some more and all that. You want to go back with a client with an option that works and solves a business problem. So that was the transition from a creative uh, worker to a creative leader. And when I set up Borderless, then halfway through I realized that, hey, I'm a business owner. So now I got to think about finances. I got to think about looking out for people, answering clients' problem. And because you're on your own, you have to do the work yourself. So you got to wear many different hats.
Yeah.
But
So
it's more,
immediately you had a kind of a realization that you just can't function, even though you were a creative leader. There is a difference, even though you're operating individually as a business owner.
yes, correct. Because you see, the mindset is, as a worker, as an employee, you work for money. I mean, we work, we expect a paycheck, right? But as entrepreneur, I think the difference is employees work for money, uh, entrepreneurs work for free because we are doing it for the long term. So I am building a business for the long term. Whereas as a worker, I do this every month, I get paid. I don't do it, I don't get paid. But as an entrepreneur, and I think I'm privileged enough to be able to do some work for free, and I don't think it's tit for tat. Oh, I expect you to give business, but it's constantly networking, building relationships, learning new things that you can apply. But to say that I work for free, so I expect you to give me a job in the future, it's not the right mindset.
So with those three kind of like, I guess, phases that you've kind of like evolved with, and you've got that perspective, how are you thinking about this current environment on a personal level first, and then maybe we can talk a bit more about how you feel about the people who have been impacted?
Yeah, on a personal level, I feel optimistic. I mean, generally, I'm a very positive person. There's a saying, when the fishermen don't go out to sea or can't go out to sea, they mend their nets. So if there's no business, there's a lot of things you can do. You can come up with a lot of project ideas. And very early on, when I started Borderless, I learned one thing. So when there's too many jobs, I complain. I got no time to do anything else. When there's too many jobs, I complain because there's not enough jobs. So I think one of my colleague, Man, you know him as well, is, hey, there's ups and downs. When there's too little jobs, you plan for the next one. So I've adopted that mindset. That's up and down. There's always too little. There's always too much.
But it will always fluctuate.
Yeah, and there are three types of businesses that you have to do. One is the short-term business, to get money in the short term. And then there's medium term and long term. So we always work on the short term. I do this project, I get paid. Next project, I get paid. But what are you doing to get business in the medium term and in the long term? Because as a creative worker, my job is to come up with ideas. But I realized that as an entrepreneur, you don't just have to come up with ideas, but you want your ideas to last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. You want a business idea that lasts for a long time. Hang on, yeah. Mom, I'm on a call. I'll call you back. I'm on a call. I'll call you back.
That's going in.
Sorry, that was my mom.
That's going in the video.
I'm doing work.
No, that was very interesting. Can you elaborate a bit more about the difference between short, medium, and long, and how you approach, again, from a mentality perspective, how is it different?
I think for short term, when a client briefs you, like says, hey, I want a series, I'm going to launch a series. So you do that, you get paid, right? Short term. For the long term, and this is what I like to do, I work with the business owner, the person running the business. So he has an idea that will last for 5, 10 years. So right now I'm working with an app developer for children's education. I'm working with a paint company. His factory has closed down. Actually, this is his second factory that is closed down, and I suppose he's learning from his mistakes. But he's got a new client in China. He has not set up his factory. He has no equipment, but I'm working for him for free. Whether he'll actually give me a business or what, it doesn't matter. I've been working with him for 2 years. His factory is closed down due to this and that. He's now got new accounts in China, and I'm doing it for free. He pays me, it doesn't pay me, it doesn't matter. So the app developer.
Do you see that as an investment? I think that's a very interesting story. Like when you're willing to commit your time and effort, do you do it out of he's a friend and it's a personal favor, or do you think about it as an investment from yourself?
I think I cannot think of very business-like. I have to think firstly that he's a friend, because if I think as a business, then I expect some monetary gain, But I've done a lot of free work for people, and then I forget about it. But at the back of my mind, I know that free work will lead to long term, but I don't control it. If they choose to give, if they choose to return, yes. And I realized early on that when I started Borderless, a lot of clients came to me because I did free work for other people. So I did free work for person A, and then person A recommended person B. And I did free work for person C during my time at YNR, and this person recommended. So it all works out, I think.
That's very interesting. Let's just like dive into that for a second. I think I've seen, and again, obviously this is like Facebook posts, so I obviously not research backed, but you get a feel that some people are very against free work, where they think you're being exploited. What is your thought behind somebody who's trying to reconcile that? Like, I don't want to be taken advantage of, but at the same time, you have a very unique perspective where giving and providing free work eventually will lead somewhere.
I think it's an employee mindset versus entrepreneur mindset. As an employee, you want to do A and you expect compensation, so that's an employee mindset. And I think entrepreneur mindset, you have to think for the long term. And yes, you might probably get exploited or what, but you choose your battles. Of course, there's a lot of work to be done, but you choose what you want to do.
What are your thoughts about somebody watching this perhaps, and he's an employee, or he or her is he or she is an employee, and they've been retrenched. So they think of themselves as, look, I'm still an employee, I'm not an entrepreneur. So does this mindset apply to me?
No, if you've been retrenched, then you are technically now a business owner because you're not contracted to a boss. So if you work directly with a client, then you are a business owner, so to speak, right? And an employee goes to an office, gets a job rec, does the work, gets paid, goes back. But if you've been retrenched, then you're a business owner. And I think it helps to find out what you're good at and what you like. It's easier said than done, but chances are, if you like to do something, you will do it for free anyway.
What would you recommend in terms of like let's say I'm that person, I'm going like, I'm not so sure. I've been an employee all my life. I'm hearing what you're saying, but how do I make that transition? Like, what would you recommend as like a step-by-step to go from employee mindset to an entrepreneur mindset?
Well, that's execution. I think it would depend on your objective, because sometimes you can be retrenched and you want to look for another job. So you don't really want to be an entrepreneur. That's okay. So it would depend on, I think I would ask, what is your objective? Are you still looking for another job? In which case I ask you to brush up your CV, do up your LinkedIn, do the kind of portfolio that you want to show. But if you say your mindset and your objective is, hey, I want to start my own business, then I will guide you along with that. I have a friend, he repairs machines, photocopier machines and all that. But he's good in two things, cooking and mixing chemicals. So he can make sanitizers. So I'm helping him in that area. He's a bit older than me. So I said, hey, you can't be an employee forever. You have to start thinking about an idea that lasts 5, 10, 15 years. So I'm helping him in that. So it depends on your objectives.
Yeah.
A mindset change is just along the way.
Yeah. I think to throw my 2 cents into that, I always thought that, like you, I've kind of like seen both sides of the coin already. And if anything, I always thought that having an entrepreneurial mindset, regardless of whether you're an employee or not in real life, is useful. And because I feel that an entrepreneur mindset thinks in terms of value, like what is the value I'm creating? And that kind of like triggers a snowball of different actions, right? Like you said, like your approach changes completely once you've shifted that mindset. And I think regardless of whether somebody is going through, look, I'm just biding my time before I find the next job, or they're genuinely interested in starting a business for themselves, I think it's a useful mindset to kind of like put a cap on, Yes. But that's a really interesting kind of like framework, I think, for a lot of people to try and adopt. I think, but the next area that I wanted to chat about is, I don't know if you've personally experienced it, but sudden loss or shock or loss of income, right? Like again, we looked at BPDO shutting down, we've got 20 people laid off. You look at Blue Ink, you've got 200 people laid off. A lot of them were like perhaps optimistic that it would not happen to them, but suddenly the lights turned off.
Yeah.
What do you think are the 2 or 3 challenges immediately that this person goes through?
I think if one thing this lockdown tells us, although we are alone, we are apart, we are a community. So I have a couple of friends working at Blue Ink. Well, we all have friends working at BBDO. But I would think that we are not alone. So I've been talking to my friends at Blue Ink. I haven't reached out to anybody at BBDO. But in such circumstances, I think it helps to know that we are not alone. And perhaps some of them can't really think what to do right now, it's such a shock. But that's where community comes in. That's where family, friends come in, So while you're counting, and I think we need time to recover, that's where the support comes in. So, I mean, apart from that, I do know a lot of people who have lost their jobs or suffered because of this downturn. And we're all helping the best we can. Some people really don't know what to do. Some people,
Yeah. Let me role play for a second. Let's say I'm that person that unfortunately lost his job, and there's obviously so much going on in my head. What is your advice? Do you have a step by step, like in terms of like what would you recommend, like if you were counseling me?
Well, no, it won't be about me. It'll be about you. How do you feel? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? So I don't want to impose what I think you should do, but I'll find out about you. How do you feel? And you already know the answer yourself. So sure, I can have 10 different views, but it's more each person his own. Because I always say there's a lot of jobs out there, and if there isn't one, make one yourself. Because you listen to music, and tomorrow there'll be a new band, a new song, but you didn't ask for that. They came up with a product and you bought it. So why didn't you do that? But again, I don't tell people what to do. I find out what they want to do, and it's about them.
So it sounds like the maybe not an action step, but it's a first kind of like thing to do is think about what do you really want, using that time to reassess.
Yeah. Some people don't know what they want, So I tell them, hey, a lot of people have do this. Most people don't like to receive advice. So the best way to give advice is to tell from personal experience. Last time it happened to me, this is what I did. This is what I did. I don't tell you, hey, do this, do this, do this.
So while, okay, perhaps maybe I'll reframe the question. Maybe if it's not advice, but if you have experienced this, like again, what did you go through or what did you choose to do? And that could maybe be a template that somebody could try and use.
Yeah, for me, for a long time, I looking back at my advertising career, I grew up in a different kind of agency where we prioritize awards. And after a while, I got a bit tired and I wanted to go out. So it had a back of my mind that it's not awards that I wanted, but I wanted to do real, meaningful work. So it was really planted. I think the idea took many years to gestate. For me, it's like I went out because I wanted to engage. I wanted to work with entrepreneurs. I wanted to work with Malaysian innovators. So I went out and looked for these people, and I interviewed them to find out what they are like. So that's for me, because in my heart, sure, I can do for the big brands, but in my heart, I want to help entrepreneurs, innovators, people coming up with great ideas. That's where I wanted to heart, and that was my heart. It may not be the same for you or for different people, for other people, but for me, that's where it is.
So
not so much for the big brands.
So that was your starting point.
My starting point. How can I use my skills or what I learned to help somebody who come up with an app in his garage, to help this entrepreneur who just got funding from the government. Forget about being paid, but I think that will come along the way. But that was my heart.
Got it. So maybe to kind of add another lens to it, let's say, again, back to somebody who might be suffering financially, like he might be okay. I mean, he's even-headed, but right now, suddenly there's a loss of income. Is there a specific advice that you have on how to deal with that?
Yeah, I think first of all, we are never alone. So there's always family. Yeah, I know people who have lost income, but person is living with family. You can always go back to your hometown. There are organizations who are helping in kind or to find jobs and all that now, So we are not totally alone. I think we have to understand that, you know. As for somebody who has lost income and all that, uh, yes, there are, I know, restaurants closing down. And I would ask, what do you want to do? How do you find yourself? Because doing is easy. Yeah, it begins here in a mindset change.
Mm.
How do you see yourself? How do you see your situation?
Do you have a recommendation on how somebody would, okay, let's say I adopt that mentality that I'm not alone, but I might not be very used to this. Like, how do I take that step to reach out? I mean, I'm trying to think, like, do I ask for a handout? What do I do?
Uh, yes, you probably won't ask for handout, but other people will ask for you because I know some families who too shy to approach and all that, but the neighbors will ask for handout. So I work with a church that does community work that gives out people. They don't come directly. The neighbors say to help this person or that person. Uh, I've done up forms also, survey anonymously. So I've done up forms where we send out people where say, do you need help in kind? I've done up another form, do you need help in cash? So people can respond anonymously. So I think one good thing about the lockdown is that it shows that we are a community, and that hashtag is trending, kita jaga kita. We look out for one another.
Yeah. Okay. So that's I think a good start. Some reaching out to others to kind of be open about your situation, and then I mean hopefully the community also reacts in kind. They help provide that support.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are willing to provide help. A lot of people give money. A lot of companies can actually give food and all that. So if you look out there, there's a lot. And I think you don't have to be in a situation where you need help. But if you think you're in a situation where you can provide help, I mean, for me, I'm a writer. I don't produce anything, any physical food or anything, but I can be the bridge to connect people.
Okay. What about like if I'm not in such dire straits? Like I still got a bit of savings. Is there anything that you would recommend to think about when it comes to money?
Um, I think we all need a healthy reserve of money, right? But I think what you say is not just money; it's how to make money, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we all have a innate sense of skills, and I would open up, uh, see what are your core skills, because as a creative, my core skills is not actually writing. I'm a writer, but my core skills is not writing. It's actually coming up with ideas. Writing is execution. So I would go to the heart of it. What is your core skill? And each of us have 10, 20 core skills. The book, What Color is Your Parachute? Is a very good book that tells you that you have a lot of skills that you didn't know could be monetized. So for a person, if out of a job looking for money, I would say find out what is their core skills. Like the friend he repairs copiers, but he's very good in cooking and mixing chemicals. So
Yeah.
these two can be monetized.
Interesting. So I think that's a great starting point. So one, sit down and figure out your core skills, not kind of like looking deeper as in terms of what you've been doing all this while and understanding the deeper value that you create.
Yeah, what are your core skills that can be monetized? Because it's a magic triangle. What you like to do, or what you're good at. So what you like, what you're good at, and what people will pay you. So that the magic is in between. I like to sing, but nobody will pay me to sing.
So
for example,
that's a great piece of advice. So what do you do after that? Like if you had to have another step two?
step two, then I would ask the person to start small. See whether this one can work for you. Don't lose your day job, but keep your day job and see whether you can monetize this. Again, don't leave your job and jump to something that you don't know. but hashtag dual culture.
Mm.
I think it's healthy for us to have an outlet. Ultimately, I think for those of us who work in non-government, we are not getting a pension, right? So we need money to survive after we are outside of our office. Because once we stop working, we don't have an income. So we need to create an idea that will last us 5, 10, 15 years. And if what you're doing now just brings you a small bit, it's okay. Start small. Start small and see where. And if it doesn't work out, it's okay. You didn't lose any money. You
Mm.
didn't lose so
So
much.
I think that's really great. I like the sequence. The way I'm reading it is you start thinking about your core value, experiment, but what's unique about what you said is you experiment, but at the same time thinking about 5, 10, 15 years of what you're trying to drive towards and gradually build from that point.
Yes, because I think a lot of industries are changing. A lot of industries are evolving, nothing new, right? But we don't apply that thinking to ourselves. So that handphones have evolved from analog to digital. But what about you as a person? If you are a brand, how are your skills evolving? I think we are talking to a privileged audience, because most of us who are looking at this can evolve their skills. So if you are in that position, how are you evolving yourself as a brand to help yourself, to help your community, to help your family, and I would dare say to help your country? To not think just I go to work, I get money. But what are you learning, changing, evolving to help the community around you to make this place a better place?
I think that's very interesting. Let's dive into that for a second. I like this lens of evolving yourself, and the other bit is as a brand. Maybe you can explain a bit more, like what is that thinking?
Yeah, I mean, so I was we all work in advertising, and end year we do the brand plans. And one day I realized that, hey, we do brand plans for client. Here's what your campaign is going to be for the next year. But we don't do brand plans for ourselves. So what will you do next year? How will you grow next year? What kind of a different person will you be next year? Or what do you want to be? And we don't apply that thinking to ourselves. So a brand, the definition of a brand is a promise. Maybe it's if you are a product, how is you evolving for next year? How are you becoming better? Not just in terms of depth, but in terms of length and breadth to serve your community. How are you becoming better to serve your country? What are you doing to serve the next generation? I think if you are privileged enough to be in that position, then don't just do and do and do, but learn, explore, and go out, meet interesting people, get different viewpoints.
That's fantastic. I think that's very powerful, and it gives somebody a kind of like a framework to think about their current situation. Because I think right now a lot of people have blinders on because there's a sudden shock and there's pain, right? But I think what you just talked about helps somebody to expand their view.
Yeah, if I may learn, why do you work? What is the redemptive purpose of work? Why does work exist? To put food on the table? I think that's a narrow view. Although for many people, yes, it is to put food on the table. But if you ask what is the redemptive purpose of work, it is, I think to show that this world has value, that people has value, that we can bring mankind, humanity to a great place. Okay, maybe I'm just a guy in Petaling Jaya and the person listening is somebody in some small town. But all of us have different roles to play. Look, we are all in the same body, right? Your head, your feet, your hands, legs, we're all in the same body. And the redemptive purpose of work, I think it is to bring mankind to a different place, to a better place. And if we all work together, we can make that happen.
Mm. Thanks. That's awesome. I think what I want to dive next into is again in terms of a very more tech. I think we've covered a nice broad strategic view on how somebody should approach things. Let's dive maybe into a bit more micro like tactics, right? So let's talk about like any advice. Again, now that you've kind of let's say you persuaded me, I'm going to put on this entrepreneurial mindset. I'm going to start experimenting, trying to create value. How are there any tactics of trying to again make more money Or to begin, for example, like I'm an entrepreneur now, I want to get new clients. What tactical advice do you have for me?
Uh, okay, let's say I've encouraged you or I've convinced you to build a product, right? So I would follow up on you. How are you building that product? And then I would first acknowledge that I'm not an expert, but I will find friends for you who are experts, who encourage you to find friends who are experts in that field. So talk to people in that so-called industry.
Mm.
And then I would say, why are you different? What is your blue ocean? So the blue ocean can be in many ways. Sometimes can be superficial. If everybody is making round donuts, then maybe you make square donuts. If everybody is making half circle curry puff, then you make triangle shape or star shaped curry puffs. But find the blue ocean. So start small, find a blue ocean, experiment. you know Talk to a lot of people to get different viewpoints, but be anchored, because otherwise you get kind of confused about where
Mm.
you want to go, what you want to achieve with this.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Any advice on specifically maybe like client management? Like again, now I've become again maybe forced to become a entrepreneur. I've never managed a client before. I've never had a one-on-one relationship with a client. What advice do you have for me?
Yeah, I think same with me also lah. I mean, I've been a creative for many years, always in a back room, never met clients until I became a creative leader and forced to meet clients. And one thing I know, lah, clients are also just humans. Creative people, we don't like to meet clients, but they are no different from you and me. And we are not perfect. We make mistakes, and that's okay. And I think one thing to say is to tell client that we don't know everything. You're only as good as what you know, but never be ashamed to say we don't know. Sometimes you are not ready, and that's okay lah. You have to know where you are. You can't proffer advice if you actually don't know anything. So you have to actually do your homework. And I think the best way to impress client is to know more than them, about their industry. If you've been doing your homework, read up about your industry, read up about where it's going, read up about your competitor, and they will appreciate that. If you don't know, well, go and ask them, but come with a humble attitude.
Mm.
Don't come with, hey, this is the best one.
Okay. So make sure you do your research. Be open to asking if you don't know.
Yes, and also know where you are in the food chain. If you actually don't know anything, that's okay. You just take advice. But if you think that, hey, you are in a position to offer marketing advice and what, then do so. Because I have some friends who says they want to offer marketing advice. And then I ask them, okay, so show me what advice have you helped? They can't. you know. So people want to do a lot of things, but you have to know where you are in the food chain. And there's no shame if all you can do is just write great copy or design a great logo. There's no shame in that. We are all different levels. It doesn't mean I'm better than you.
Yeah. Anything else in terms of like advice on managing clients?
Uh, well, there are different clients, different level. And I think fundamentally, we are in advertising. I found out that clients don't actually like advertising. Advertising is a means to an end. We have to meet their business problems. We have to meet their business objective. So advertising is one way. There are many ways. I think fundamentally the advice is understand what is the client's business problem. Understand it and meet their business objectives. They are not here to buy advertising. They are here to buy sound judgment and great advice. That's what they're ultimately buying. Advertising is how you execute that sound judgment and great advice. That's it. I have a few mentors. I have a mentor in Singapore. I have some mentors here. So I acknowledge that I don't know everything. I do send my work over, my files to Singapore, to here, to get their 2 cents, and even here also, before I show client. So I'm always afraid that, maybe that there's something I don't know. So to answer your question, it's understand client's business problem, understand their objective, and surround yourself with people who can help you, because you are not alone. We are a community.
Fantastic. Uh, maybe a bit more about how. So right now, again, I think in this environment, there's a lot of negativity, right? And again, if you watching this have gone through a recent shock, I think it's understandable if you have that cloud over your head. Are there any specific advice that you have on like getting out of that negative mindset into something more productive?
Uh, yeah, well, I think a patient cannot fix himself. Lah. So, I think if you're in that negative mindset or you have just lost a job or your company is shut down, reach out to your friends. Reach out to your friends, engage them because, I mean, it takes a doctor, a third party to heal the patient. The patient cannot to operate himself. So you need a new mindset. I think remember that you are not alone. You are in a community. But that said, you also need to take proactive steps. What do you want to do? Why do you want to do that? Figure out these questions. And I think being alone, not having a job, it's not a bad thing. It's like a bump in the road. The journey is long, I mean, if you're going to live up to, you're going to work until 80, this is just a bump in the road, right?
Yeah.
So look at the long-term journey. Reach out to your friends and ask yourself, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do that? And the how will come in due time.
Yep. And I think just to kind of like add in another 2 cents, what I personally experienced, at least from some people, and everybody has had this happen to them at some point in time, they achieve some measure of success, and then there'll be people that ask them like, hey, can you help me find a job? Then you ask them naturally, it's like, oh, what kind of job? And the answer sometimes becomes like, oh, anything lah. I just need a job. And I think that does them no favors, because it does not, if you're asking for help and you're not specific, it's very difficult for the person trying to help you out, who even he's genuinely interested. And I think the question the advice that you had earlier was right. Thinking about what do you want to do, and being as specific as possible. That way, it really helps the helper help you out.
Yeah, not everybody can think like that. That's correct. I know some friends like that. What do you want to do? And any job. That's his answer. So what I did was, okay, I'll tell you what. I will write your CV. So I interviewed him. I wrote his CV. I found out his clients. I got some recommendations, and then I sent his CV around. So in a sense, I would help him to think. So I said, okay, you've never done a CV in your life. This is it. This is the CV. I sent out. This is what you do. Because we are treated like that because we are in marketing. But essentially, what the person is saying, I just want money. I do not know how to think. It's okay. It's our different backgrounds, how we are brought up.
Okay. Finally, I guess before I get to that last bit, any other advice in terms of like that mindset? Again, you're not alone. Reach out and you are a patient at this point, so let people help you. Any other advice on dealing with or getting out of the funk?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a Christian. So I think it's good to understand. I never met clients, as you know, as a creative, very little. But I've worked with Accenture, I've worked with government, I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and all that. And really, I have no idea how I meet these clients. And they just come from left and right. They cold call or they say, I heard of you, But I think it has been such privilege. And I think for me, there's a higher being that looks after our lives, that is in charge of our affairs, that loves us and handles us. For me, that's what keeps me grounded. I dare not say that, I'm a well-known, I won a lot of awards. I have no idea. But I would say that if you acknowledge that there's somebody out there looking after for you, then maybe it helps keep you anchored, and it helps keep you humble as well.
Yeah, having a little bit of both faith as well as humility.
Yes. And because there are days when you have a lot of money, you get a lot of job. There are days when you don't have. What is your anchor? Is your anchor you yourself, or your anchor in, hey, this is for the long term? If you ask me, what is the purpose of MCO? Are we to focus on the economy? Are we to focus on jobs? Focus on ourselves? No, it is why are we here in the first place? Is what we do really that important?
Mm.
You know, are we really alone? We have to ask, why is MCO happening? What is the impact, the long-term measure on us?
Mm.
Don't just, oh, COVID-19, everybody's dying, I can't go out. It's not about that. It's about the redemptive purpose, MCO.
Mm.
We take the long-term view. We take the view that there is a greater force out there.
Fantastic. Any other like final pieces of advice that you have?
I think the most best advice I can give is find a mentor, be a mentor. Lah. We are in this together. And I'm happy that I can talk with you. And I think you'll find that there are a lot of people out there. Lah. One thing about Malaysia is we're always willing to help. I think that will be true. Go out, meet a lot of people, meet different kinds of people, and be a help. Don't just expect to be helped, but with your skills, you already have access to internet because you're watching this. You can pay data. You have a comfort of your own home, which means you are probably the 1%. You can help a lot of people. And by helping people, I think you will be helped.
Fantastic. That's a great piece of mindset, and I think the right kind of attitude to approach this. Even though you might be going through misfortune at this point, but always keeping that perspective that, again, if you're watching this, chances are you are still okay, even though the world might seem like it has kind of like crashed on your head. But there are still opportunities to add value and be of help to not only yourself but to other people around you as well.
Yeah, you see, when China lifted their lockdown, immediately the sales of LV and luxury goods were sold out. So, I mean, we hear people losing their jobs here and in China, but as soon as lockdown was lifted, people started buying all luxury goods. So there are people storing up money. I mean, I'm no economist, but there's money being pumped into the economy right now. A lot of things are happening, but rest assured, I think it will all work out. Things will go very bad, but I think it will all work out in the end. And I think you have to ask yourself, what if MCO lasts for 5 years? We all expect a cure, next year, 2021. What if the vaccine doesn't come till 2025 or 2030? Are you ready? Don't just work as if the vaccine will be here in 2021. What if it's not? Work as if the vaccine is only going to come in 2030 and prepare yourself for that.
Got it. So maybe as a final parting note, well, what are you working on right now? Tell us a bit more about your kind of like plan for the next until 2030.
I don't have so long. Well, I'm working on an app, an education app for preschoolers. I'm working on a health drink with a client. I'm working on a kindergarten, how to reposition the kindergarten. I'm working on my own products, series of posters, a series of articles, a book which I was supposed to deliver by December 31st last year. So my publisher is chasing my ass on that. So those are a few things I've been working on.
Awesome.
Yeah, aside from the day-to-day and all that.
The day-to-day
So those
consulting.
I mentioned medium and long-term. The short-term one, there is a project, do this, do that. That's easily done.